Hey guys, Dr. Nelson here. I just wanted to share this quick little video of a project I've been working on. This particular table came from my grandfather's office. It's probably as old as the 40s. And another chiropractor was in the office and suggested I replace the metal legs with some wooden ones. And so I put together a whole string of really short videos to share that project with you, give you a little history of my office, keep you up to date as we make changes and make things more efficient. I appreciate you watching. Thank you. As you can see here, guys, I left this intro that I originally did simply just to give you an idea of what the table looked like for so many years. Obviously, it raises up there and lowers down. I think Grandpa used this for EMS, maybe some ultrasound. You can see on the floor there is one of those wooden legs that I was able to track down. Got that off of eBay and felt I got a fair price for that. Definitely old legs. They had wooden rollers on the bottom, and those vertical pieces were a little bit more of a challenge to find. This is the very first night. Obviously the drawers are removed there. Just a few screws to remove that top. Legs were pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nothing too complicated here. So just to give you a quick rundown of the teardown for this project. Well, that was relatively painless. Only a few tools to break it down. It's had some work done to it. It's been worked on before. But yeah, now the next step is to get all these pieces out of my way for a little bit more room. That's the first step. And then sand this puppy down and start working on it. Stay tuned. So as you might have guessed, I don't have the room or the tools or frankly the know-how to do all this stuff on my own. So when it comes to projects like this, I got a good friend Jim. He's got oodles of room. He's got a great shop, air compressors and tools. He does woodworking, metalworking. Just a huge help on things like this. Right there is a 1971 Grand Prix with a 455 in it. Less than 50,000 miles on that puppy. It'll be for sale soon. We tore all the guts out of this, all the braces. Things are falling apart. Those are some brass plugs that needed to come out. I don't know how many dozen of those things were in there to support those legs. Pretty simple tear down, as you could see previously. We took all those middle sections apart, sanded, braced, glued, redid all the inside. Here we are sanding it down inside and out, of course, getting things ready. Lots of wood glue on this project, lots of staples, just getting everything reinforced. More work than I had planned originally. Here Jim is putting some staples in. There is Thumper, his three-legged cat. There's two things you don't mess with. You don't mess with his chicken wings, and you don't mess with his cats. This here is a separate shop. Fun story with Jim. All the paneling there is off one of his first businesses. So it's old signs and stuff that's blown off the highway. This guy finds more stuff. And here we're cutting the legs. Really for this project what we needed was a wood lathe. Of course neither of us had that. So we very carefully cut them off what we thought was at the right length, and believe it or not, those legs actually ended up within 1/8 of an inch of each other. I couldn't believe it. So here we're drilling, getting ready to put the ready rod in. He had drilled out the holes what we thought was right, and as we put an impact on this, as you'll see here in the very first video, as we're trying to get our depth right and everything, we underestimated how old and brittle that wood was. And as he tries to get the correct length, well, you'll see what happens here. So as you can see, it's split. That was the first of 4. The other 2, the other 3 we thought would be fine. They all ended up splitting as well. So these legs, as difficult as they were to find, required a lot more work. So when they're all said and done, we got them all put together and they turned out great. Of course, one fun thing with these projects is not only learning, but storytelling. And whether it's true or not, Jim is one heck of a storyteller. And he tells this story of elk hunting where he shoots this elk in his underwear. And I laughed so hard at the end of it. I said, Jim, we got to record that and we got to share it with everybody on this video. So what you hear for the next few minutes is that story. Enjoy.
Hello, sports fans. This is Jim. Nearly everybody that is in the outdoor world or hunting or whatever has a special story, whether it's with friends or whatever. This here particular deal happened by myself in the wilderness of the lower regions of the Bighorn Mountains back in 2007, somewhere in there. For many years, it was an even deal to be able to draw a unit and a tag every year, but now with the limited availability of tags and stuff, it's getting tougher and tougher to draw. So back then, I used to go by myself. I'd take 3 head of horses, load them in the trailer, take off, go, get over there, ride back in 7, 8, 9 miles, depending on where I wanted to go, and set up and hunt. Well, on this particular deal, it's going to be a twofold deal, and I'll enlighten on the first part first. But in my haste to get out of town, leaving Rapid City, I had left my bag with my sleeping bag, my heavy jacket, and some clothes in it. So when I got there, I had nothing to wear, no clothes, no nothing, other than the clothes I had on. Well, after about 2 or 3 days of hunting, I located a bunch of elk in a unit on Unit 37, which is a good unit to hunt early. This is in September. With that, one morning or earlier in the hunt, I'd located a spot about 2.5 miles from camp. There was a big wallow, a lot of elk were using it. So I checked on it in the morning, and nothing had been in there from the evening prior, because I had thrown some sticks in the wallow to make sure that if they used it, I knew it. So with that, I hiked up over a small little ridge and down into another drainage, and when I got there, I had to cross this large boggy area to get from one side to the other. So if I wanted to hunt it later in the afternoon, I'd have the wind on my side and going everything in my direction. So with that, I took great care to get across this, but in my haste, I slipped off of my little wooden log type bridge that I had made to cross it, and I wound up about knee deep in this black, soupy, muddy crap that stinks like sewer. I got to the other side, and I said, well, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's a nice September day. Nice wind, breeze, everything going. I said, well, I'm going to take my boots off, and washed them in the creek there a little bit and hung them up to dry. My socks, washed them out, hung them up. And my pants were wet to my knees, so I washed them off, took them off, washed them out in the creek, hung them up. Then I had been in this same set of clothes for 4 days already. So I took my t-shirt off, washed it off, hung it up in the deal, sat back on the ground. I spread my rain jacket out so I had something to sit on, had a bite to eat, and watched my clothes dry. And it was September, 75, 80 degrees some days over there, so things were good. So anyhow, as I was sitting there eating, my cow call had been giving me some problems, and I can't use a diaphragm. A lot of guys can, I can't. So I had just a nice hand call. So I took it apart, cleaned it all out, dug through it, had everything from granola bars to everything else stuck in it. So we cleaned it all out, put it back together, blew through it backwards to make sure there was no debris in it, turned it around the other way, and I gave a couple cow calls. So I said, geez, that sounds pretty good. Adjusted the reed a little bit and hit it again. And just as I was doing it, I looked across the drainage, which wasn't very far, maybe 100 yards, and I see this elk coming down off the ridge at a pretty good clip. And not knowing what it was until he broke out in the clearing, I said, God, that's a good looking bull. Well, anyhow, he busted down and dropped into the far side of the watershed and the drainage and the bog. And the good thing that happened, he went to working on a little aspen tree, kicking it around, which gave me a little chance to kind of gather my stuff. Well, I'm sitting there in nothing other than a white pair of underwear, no t-shirt, no shoes, no socks. And my bow is about 10, 15 feet to my right, and had me pinned down, couldn't move. But as he was working the tree, he kind of got butt toward me, and I did manage to get a hold of him, move over a little bit and grab my bow. And as I turned around, I seen him turn around, and he pinned me down. Couldn't figure out what I was, and I'm sitting there with my bow in my hand. My release is still in my pack, and he decides to come a little bit, crossed just a little trickle of water, and took a drink, and I kind of got turned around, so I had a halfway decent shot if it proceeded, or it came about. Well, anyhow, he came a little closer down in front of me and started coming up, and finally he stopped at 8 yards. Took a look at me, couldn't figure out what I was, and here I am in my whitey tighties, bow in hand, no release, and he does turn and come up on the bank, and then he gets to about 6, 7 yards, and I'm still there on my knee, and he turns to walk away, and I drew, and he's seen something or heard something, and he swapped ends, complete 180 degrees, and I thought he was going to be gone. But at the last minute, he turned and looked at me a little bit, and when he turned his head to leave is when I had the opportunity, and I released the arrow, shot right through him, hit him on the back rib on the left side, and come out the bottom part of his neck on the right side. Goes about 70, 80 yards, stands on the hill, and tips over. You know, the good part about it, I killed an elk. The sad part about it, I was the only one there. Some people might think it's a crock of BS, but it isn't. It's one of the greatest times I've had in the 40 years that I've been hunting. But as I tell this to people, they say, well, let me hear the story about the elk and the underwear. Well, you just heard the story about the elk and the underwear. And Scout's honor, it's as true can be. So with that, enjoy. If you have any outings in the outdoor world, things like this come up, don't be afraid to take advantage of them and share them with other people, because it's a good thing to do. Thanks.